All right, welcome back, everyone. So the last video, I taught you how you could create an invoice and created a button here and opened up this extension here that you can create an invoice with. So the next step that I think is going to be really helpful is for generating an estimate first and then turning that estimate into an invoice. And I'm not necessarily going to go through how to create an estimate because it's the exact same way to create an invoice. You just copy this. I guess I can show you that really quick. So the best thing to do, well, first, what I'm going to do is before I get to that, let me create a new table and then I'll add the extension to that particular table. So what I'm going to do is, because I want to use the same information here, I'm going to copy a table. And one thing that as I was preparing for this video, I realized, oh yeah, like I could probably create this primary field, name field, as the invoice number. So I'm actually going to change this, and I'm going to copy this formula here. And just before I copy this table, so I'm going to edit this and I'm going to change this to a formula, and I'm going to copy this. And something else I thought would be really helpful is for invoices, a lot of times you want to make it as a date. So you kind of know when it happened. And the easiest way to do that is, what you can do is you can use the current year. So it knows automatically what year you're in. So as we go from December to January, for example, and if you create a new estimate or a new invoice, it will use that particular current year. So the best way to do that is to use, it's called date format. You put that in, and then you're going to type in today. And then you want to close the parentheses so it uses today. And then what we're going to do is we're going to format it to where we only want to see the year. And you want to see all 4 digits there. And then we're going to put an and sign or ampersand there again. And then let's create a dash and then a couple zeros. Close that. And then here you can see the example here. So now instead of just being invoice 0001, it's going to show the year, which is 2025 now, and an invoice number. And if you get more than that, you can always add another 0 if you feel like that's necessary. So I'm going to actually delete this because I don't need that anymore. And I'm going to rename this invoice number. Oh yeah, I forgot I already have this number. Let me just title it that. I'm going to retitle this actually auto number. And I don't need to see this. I'm going to hide this and let me rename this number. Can resize this a bit. Okay, I think we're in good shape here. Now I'm going to duplicate this. Something else I just thought of. So something else I added was last modified, which wasn't there before. I think it's helpful to have a created date and also a last modified. So you know, like the last time it was updated or when it was created, just so you have that for your record. It doesn't add automatically. I kind of wish it did, but it doesn't. So you have to add those yourself. So this is ready to duplicate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this table. And I want to duplicate actually, I don't want to duplicate the records. You can if you want to. In this case, we don't need to. So we're going to rename this as estimates. And I'm going to put it in front of invoice. It doesn't matter, just for my own organization, because you're going to do an estimate before you do an invoice. And services I would probably put first too, because those are always there. You're going to create a customer probably, then you're going to assign an estimate to the customer, and then you're going to turn that estimate into an invoice. So just like thinking through your flow, like I just like to organize things in the flow that they happen, but you can do whatever you want. So estimates, we're just going to update these a little bit. So it's going to be estimate number, and instead of I and V, we're going to do EST for estimate. And then we're going to also update all these fields. Essentially, you don't have to do this because it's still going to do the same thing regardless, but just so it looks uniform and it makes sense for the table that we're in. Oh, that was already showing. Do an estimate total, and then generate estimate. So what I want to do here, so this, you can see this is already here because it duplicated everything. I want to add a new dashboard and I want to call it estimates. So as you can see, it's blank here. So we're going to add an extension. We'll do page designer again, but since you're going to be using the same thing, what I would recommend, and this is a lot faster, a lot less work, is to, before I do that, let me, since I changed the field, I need to re-add this field in here. Let me do this really fast so it makes sense for you guys. Since the name is now this, I'm actually just going to create a static text, and I'm just going to say invoice. Center that. Since what was that, 25, maybe more. Wow. 40 maybe. Let's see, the weight's probably a little less. Invoice. Okay, so we'll have that. So if you were just going to create a new estimate, like say it's a totally different thing, you're going to add an extension and then you're going to add page designer and it will be exactly the same thing. But to make it a little easier on yourself, because estimates generally look very similar to invoices, what you can do is you can actually duplicate this extension and it'll duplicate here and it'll add another one down here. So you'll say a copy. We're going to call this estimate. And then what we should be able to do is we can move this to another dashboard. So then we can select estimates. That's the only one. And then now you have this generate estimate in the estimates dashboard. So it's a little bit more organized and it makes a little bit more sense for what you're doing. So inside of this estimate, I'm just going to do this really quick because I think it's going to be really helpful for you to sort of get what this is. So essentially, I think this is pulling from the other table. So let me just go into here, table. So in here in the settings, you want to select the table, select invoices, and then no table view has viewable. I forgot how this works. Settings, generate. I'm going to change some of this. This doesn't matter, but I'm just making it all. You don't pay an invoice or you don't pay a estimate. So I'm going to delete that. I'm going to say sent estimates. Table or view has no visible records. Let me create a thing. Okay, so now, I guess you might have to start over anyways. Great. Because it's in a different table. So scratch what I said. You are going to have to remake it. So sorry about that. Like I said, I'm not an expert. I'm just, I use this all the time. But now it's good to know. I'm learning some things too. Great. So anyways, yeah, that's not really what I want to show you, but it's good to know that you will have to recreate some things. And like I said, in the invoice thing, you can't drag and drop, or you can't drag and select multiple things. You have to do them one by one, which really sucks. But it is what it is. So to get to the estimate dashboard, you'll need to update this and select estimates and then generate estimate. And that will take you directly into here. So after this video, I'll make another thing. That way it's there. But what I wanted to show you was actually how to create an invoice from an estimate. So there's a few different ways. The way that I'm going to show you, and I'll show you a different way as well, is essentially I want to make an estimate. This is auto-generating based on the auto number and the formula that I've already put in here. So whenever you create a new estimate, you just select this and it's going to create a new thing automatically. Now remember, if you delete this, if you accidentally delete that and then you start another one, it's going to go straight to 3 because it's an auto number. You'd have to delete the whole field and recreate it in order for it to start back from 1. So just be aware of that. So when you create a new thing, you're going to create a customer. So I'm going to select Jane Doe. Status, I'm actually going to change these statuses to be more appropriate. So I'm going to delete everything but sent because I don't really need anything else but sent. I just want to know, have I sent the estimate or have I not sent the estimate? For now, at least. Put some notes. I'm going to say, actually, let me do services next. So services, tax preparation. I'm going to say Jane needs a rush on her tax preparation. That's it. And then status has not been sent yet. Oh, actually, I'll mark it as sent because we're going to turn it into an invoice. So how we're going to create this automation is essentially we're going to create an automation that matches a condition, and when it matches a condition, we're going to make a new record in the invoices table so it shows up here as invoice and not an estimate. So the way I'm going to do that for right now is create invoice. And I'm just going to make a checkbox. And so what we do is whenever you check that, then I'm going to tell Airtable when any of these meets the condition of the checkbox being checked, I want you to create an invoice. So another way you could do that is let's say you make it a type, and let's say you call it a single select, and we're going to call it estimate and invoice. And what you could do is every time you make a new invoice, you could have it default to estimate. That way it will always say estimate first. Right now they're not like that because you have to create a new record, and I'm not going to do that right now. Well, I guess I can. This is a practice one. So this is a new estimate here, and it automatically creates this as an estimate. So you could also say whenever a record has invoice selected, then it will go over to that, over to this table. And then you can create a filter that shows only estimates. So it would, like for all estimates, it would show everything except for the invoices, and all those records that were invoices would be turned into this. But essentially it's just going to take this and it's going to put it into an invoice table. And you don't necessarily need an invoice table and an estimates table unless you want to track specifically how much you're earning. And if you want to do that, then I think it's really crucial to put your records in its own table for invoices, because if you are calculating everything like down here, the sum, it's going to show you everything in that regardless. Although you could create a filtered group that would calculate only that. So it really depends on how you want to work. I think that you could create an estimates table or estimates and invoices or whatever you want to call it, and you could filter certain things out to show different totals for invoices or estimates only. And that's a different way to do it. But for the purpose of this video, I'm going to show you how to create an automation. I am going to leave this for now because I think I'll explore this in a later video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to automations, and I'm going to add a trigger, and I'm going to say when a record meets or matches certain conditions, and I'm going to select the estimates table, and the condition is going to be when the create invoice is selected, and you just need to click that. And then there's no, so when you choose a record, it says there's no records that you can configure. And the reason is because I don't have anything checked. So I need to check this box, and then it'll be able to pull it up. So we'll go back to automations, we'll choose the record, and now you can see this will show up here. And I just want to note again that the things that show up here, they only show the first 4 fields. So just keep that in mind as you order your fields in specific ways. So I'm going to select this, and then I'm going to add an action, and I'm going to create a record. And I'm going to use a description and say create invoice from estimate. And I'm going to select the table, and I'm going to create a record in the invoices. So the next thing I want to do is I want to pull over the services that I have in the from this table, what the table that I'm using the condition to create from, which is the estimates table, and that's going to be this first step here. I want to select the services, and it's going to pull over the services from the estimates. The next thing is I want to pull over the customer information. So I'm going to pull over the customers. The next thing I'm going to do is I want to pull over the notes. So pull over the notes. And the next thing I want to do is I want to set the status automatically to work completed, because if there is an invoice that's being generated, it means that work has been completed, right? So I'm going to generate the preview. This doesn't really mean much. You just have to do a test to make sure it's working. I'm going to rename this create invoice from estimates, or from estimate. So I'm going to turn this on. And then now what we can do is there's nothing here, right? Here's the estimate. So I'm going to unclick this. There's nothing here. And I'm going to re-click this. And now we've got Jane Doe, who has now had an invoice created. And then once you get in this table, then you can generate the invoice, and then you can send her the invoice. This is her invoice, tax preparation. I think something important to add here would be notes. I think having notes here would be a helpful box to put. I'm just going to make it look a little bit more uniform. Let me give it a little bit of padding. I'm going to add some borders. I don't need the borders to be that thick, so I'm going to dial those back a bit. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to copy this. Let me move my head over here. Just going to copy this, and I'm going to move this over here. And I'm going to copy this. I'm going to move it over here. And I'm going to call this notes. There. So now we've got a notes box, and this will populate directly from the notes that we have. I'm actually going to give this a border as well. Looks like it already has a border. Doesn't quite look like that, but nonetheless, this is what we have. Okay, so we have an invoice here. We've got the invoice we created before. It's got all the information. Now it's got a notes box, which I think is important to have. If there are no notes, then it'll just be blank, or you could also create a formula that shows that it has no notes as well. And I'm not going to go over that today because that's a little bit more advanced. But essentially, I just wanted to show you that you can make it automated to where it's a little bit easier. If you want to, you could also just copy this over. You could just Command C or Control C, and then you could go into invoices, and you could just copy this over. And well, that didn't copy right because I didn't. I did because these are in different orders. So let me do this, and then customers, services. These need to be in the same order. Let me keep customers. I think customer first here. It makes sense. So So you could copy all these if you wanted to, and you could just paste them over here, and that would be what it needs to be. But you know, it's if you have a lot, or if you know things meet certain statuses, or if there's you know, specific due dates and things like that, I think it's important to have that show up. I'm just going to show you really quick how you can change the automation to, if you do want to have it not be this checkbox. Type is invoice. That's all you do is you change it to invoice, and you can update that. So now let's do a different one. Say Bob wants to have tax planning. No notes. Is sent. Actually, let me show you. No, I'm not going to show you that. Okay, so this is turned on. So if I change this, let me just show you in invoices. It's not there. There is a Bob Smart, but it's for a different invoice altogether. So if I change this to invoice, now there's a new one. There's no notes here. It's made work complete. It's pulled over tax planning and Bob Smart. It's created a new invoice. This one still exists because it's just a regular one that I just showed you. And yeah, so now this is there. So you can actually delete this. You can use that if you want. And then what I was going to say before, what I was saying before is if you only want to show estimates, you can say type is estimate. So now you're only going to see actual estimates. And I'll just create one so it lives here and you can see what it is, consulting, and the status is not sent. All right. So yeah, so that's how you create an automation to turn an estimate into an invoice. And I think that's, you know, pretty helpful. And it can create a lot of it can make your workflow a lot easier, and it can help you stay a little bit more organized, and it definitely makes less work. So yes, hope this was helpful. Sorry, I feel like this might have been a little bit all over the place. But I think that, you know, creating these invoices from your estimates cuts down on your work, and it saves time, and it really allows you to be more efficient. If you have any questions, or you just need a little bit of help getting this set up, or maybe your automation isn't working right, or something isn't calculating or anything like that, leave a comment, and I'd be glad to help you. So until next time, please like and subscribe and comment if you have any questions or feedback, or you have some things that you want me to create for you. And I'll see you in the next video.